let's meet you. Braden, I'm going to toss to you first. Who are you?
Yeah, so my name is Braden Siemens. I work at Canadian Mennonite University as an admissions counselor as well as a writer. I did my undergraduate degree at CMU in biblical and theological studies. And I also studied philosophy as a minor. And then I went on to do a master's degree in religious studies, which focused on like continental philosophy and stuff like that. So that's a bit about me. I love what I do at CMU. It's the best. And I'm going to pass it on to Natasha.
Hi, everyone. Like Braden said, my name is Natasha Nusitter-Barg. I am a current student at CMU. So I'm in my 4th year of a Bachelor of Arts, General Social Sciences major. I have 1 year left to go. So a few other things about me. I also work for the admissions people as a student on-campus job, but I'm also this year's student council president. And so I have a lot of different roles, and I'm excited to be here with you all today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then Christine, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, so my name is Christine Campen-Robinson. I have several job titles similar to my colleagues here. There's many hats that I wear. So one of those hats is Director of the Practicum program at CMU. All of our students in all of our programs do a work integrated learning placement as a requirement for graduation. That's one of the things that makes us unique in Canada as an institution. And I also work as the director of the Center for Vocation. We're really focusing on vocational discernment and career development for our students, equipping them for making good decisions that are the right ones for them. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you today. And my third job title is Assistant Professor of Social Science and Practicum. My academic background is I am also a graduate of a Bachelor of Arts degree in interdisciplinary studies in translation and culture. And I went on to pursue a master's degree and a PhD in German and applied linguistics, where I specialized in the connection between storytelling and identity. And that's why I'm really excited now to be working sort of at the intersection of that. In vocational discernment and career development work. So that's something about my background.
Wow, I love that. I feel like I want to ask you 700 questions now, but I'm going to stay the course because we only have so many minutes together. I really think I'm excited about this conversation because I think education has changed, the world has changed, vocation has changed. And sometimes for parents, we have an assumption of maybe what a Bachelor of Arts was and what it meant for us educationally to what it is today and what it means today. So I think this is going to be a really helpful and thoughtful conversation. So I'm excited about that. But I feel like first, to have a little fun, what did you want to be when you grew up? So I feel like, Natasha, I'm going to you first this time.
Perfect. When I grew up, I wanted to be a librarian.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a teacher.
Love it.
Yeah, both of those things.
Love it. Okay. Christine, how about you?
Sure. So I grew up in a 2-teacher household. So that was one of the first things that I wanted to be. There's a tendency to want to be what you can see.
Yes.
But I also went through a fairly intense period of wanting to be a marine biologist because I was very obsessed with beluga whales. And then I watched too many documentaries and didn't do well in science. And so that dream died. But that's okay. I still like beluga whales.
That's great. Braden, how about you?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be an actor. I was pretty serious about, I loved movies. I was the lead role in my high school plays. I was super involved in this extracurricular acting school outside of class. And I really wanted to, my dream was to be an actor. I think it was because I was so inspired by the movies I was watching and the television I was watching. And there was something about performance and that was just so invigorating for me as a adolescent. And thinking about this actually in the conversation of a Bachelor of Arts degree and what that can do for you, I think even after I did my Bachelor of Arts degree, looking back, the roots of why I wanted to be an actor they actually were able to be expressed in a lot of ways in the Bachelor of Arts degree because I was able to sort of learn more about communication, more about performance, and why those things were so inspiring to me when I watched a movie when I was younger. And I didn't become an actor, but I'm not saying that won't happen, because, you never know.
Never know. You just never know.
But I think the root of why I was interested in it was that it was able to, it opened up a way that the arts could inspire me, and I could express myself through things. But then I realized through my arts degree that there were so many other ways to express those things than just cinema. So we can get into that a bit in the next question.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, having just lived for some years in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people who want to be actors, and it's a little tricky sometimes. So, you might have picked a more viable route. I'm not sure.
You're probably right.
I love it. And there's always still time. I mean, that is very true. So, Christine, I would love to hear how you feel like in this current climate in the world we live in, how does a BA prepare you for employment? Why do you think it's such a valuable degree?
So even though it's not necessarily my favorite argument in favor of a BA, like one of the misconceptions that exists about a BA is that it doesn't actually prepare you for employment. And in fact, it does. So Bachelor of Arts, more broadly, liberal arts degrees allow students to develop skills that are actually in demand and that equip them for work in a wide range of industries. So employers say, for example, that they're looking for things like communication skills, teamwork skills, critical thinking, and problem solving. And those things, they matter.
Right.
Those aren't like fluffy things that we just say because we're trying to get people to go into a Bachelor of Arts degree. They're actually skills that directly matter and impact your ability to do a whole wide range of jobs. So a recent study by RBC highlighted these skills and called them human skills, which I really love instead of soft skills. I hate the term soft skills because it makes them seem fluffy and unimportant.
Right.
And so human skills is a term that I like a lot better. And that study showed that employers are looking for graduates who are well-rounded, both in terms of skills, but also in terms of a knowledge base, which is exactly what a Bachelor of Arts is doing. So like all of those human skills are exactly the kinds of skills that Bachelor of Arts degrees are developing.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, from working with, I would say now hundreds, maybe even thousands of students over the years, the problem is not that people are not developing the skills, is that the problem instead is that people don't even recognize they have them. And so because they don't recognize they have them, they can't see all kinds of specific roles and opportunities they might actually be qualified for. And three, because of the fact that they don't recognize the skills and can't see the applicability, they can't tell the story or make an argument for why they're qualified.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit, from my perspective, that question needs a bit of a reframe. Like, yes, we care about whether a degree can lead to a job. Like that makes sense. I mean, it's an investment of time and an investment of money.
Sure.
But it is something that is worthwhile for all of these different reasons, just from like an economic perspective, even though that's actually not my favorite argument in favor of a BA, but it's a relevant question for so many, especially parents who might be watching this, thinking about that investment, both in terms of their money and their children's time. Yeah. So, if the underlying question is, can a BA get you a job? The answer is yes.
Which feels like a helpful thing that a lot of parents do want to hear. I will admit it. As a parent with a student at university right now and one in grade 12 right now, I know specifically for my husband, he's like, those dollars are going where and what will you do with it? Right? That is a real question. So that's really good. That's really helpful. Braden, I know you were just speaking about your experience with a BA. How did you feel like it set you up for employment, for the workforce, for what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I will share a quote that I really like by Steve Jobs that I think is super relevant to this conversation. So there was an article in the Globe and Mail where he said, it's in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough, that it's technology for him in Apple, married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities that yields us the results that make our hearts sing. So he's already kind of a poet in this situation, apparently. So Jobs also, he comments that, creativity is just connecting things together. And the broader one's understanding of the human experience, the better design our employees are going to have. So Steve Jobs is saying that about something that you would probably not, it wouldn't be the first pick you'd think of as somebody graduating from a Bachelor of Arts to go into Apple. But that's the thing. A Bachelor of Arts sets you up for all these different possibilities. There was a really great article recently in the Ottawa Citizen, which talked about that employment prospects do not have to come at the expense of our happiness and at the expense of creating meaning in our lives. So at the core of the humanities is the question, what makes a good life? What makes a meaningful life? But not at the expense at getting a good job. It also sets you up for, skill sets like cultural awareness, adaptability to different circumstances, social perceptiveness, active listening, creative thinking, critical mindedness, all these different ways, complex problem solving. And I would say all of those things set me up successfully for where I'm at now. They all got me the job that I have now at the university. They don't just make you a novelist, but in fact, humanities makes a better scientist, I would argue, or a better lawyer or a better doctor. There's all these different ways in which we can use the skills that we get from the arts degree and advance other fields that are incredibly related to it, even if we don't think they are.
Yeah.
So that would be that's how I would answer that question.
I love that. That's great. That's really helpful. And quoting Steve Jobs is never bad. So
seems like a pretty successful guy to me.
Right. He has done okay. I think we can all agree he did okay.
Yeah.
Natasha, how about you? I mean, you're in a BA right now. So why? I mean, how do you feel like it's setting you up?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot that I have to say echoes what Braden and Christine have already said. But as someone who's in it right now, I would definitely wholeheartedly agree that I love the breadth of knowledge that I'm learning. I get to be a poet. I get to be an author. I get to be a scientist. I get to be like a writer. I get to be a historian. And I think that's just really cool. And as someone who's learning, it's really fun to be intrigued by what I'm learning. And what I'm learning is how to be people focused. So I'm learning how to interact with people from a lot of different lenses. And I think that's really fascinating and really important for the bigger world or the real world, however people want to say it, to be able to learn, kind of how people interact with each other and how to think through my thoughts and how to articulate them, I think are all things that I'm learning all in different kind of similar but different ways in my different classes. So I think that's really intriguing and really helpful. I also just love that, it's pretty research-based as well. So it's not just theoretical, but it's practical as well. And so the theory behind everything is that you get to learn how to ask good questions and how to dig deeper and how to really learn about people and care about people as human beings. And then I get to do the practicality of talking to people and engaging with people and having dialogue with people. And I think those are all things that I learn within a BA. And then I think those are, like Christine said, are human skills that I don't necessarily know as human skills, but I think are things that I am implicitly learning, which is pretty fun and pretty cool.
It is pretty fun, pretty cool, and pretty helpful, and really in a world where I think a lot of people don't anticipate the amount of careers most people have nowadays. You don't tend to go into just one thing and stay there anymore. And so you do need to have these kinds of skills that help you, interdisciplinary type of skills that are really, really helpful. So that's great. Super helpful. Okay. Well, I would love to know, I think just realizing we only have so much time. So here's the last question that I would love to ask all of you is, how do you feel like a BA helps develop your gifts and calling? I feel like we're just going to go in reverse. So Natasha, I'm going to ask you first this time. How do you feel like it's developing that in you now?
I think one of the things that's unique about CMU is that we all get to do a practicum. And so 2 years ago, I did a practicum through Mennonite Central Committee, where I went and I lived in Vietnam for 11 months and I got to teach English to junior high and high school students. And so I think one of the interesting things about a BA is that the first 2 years taught me kind of some of these skills, and I got to do this practicum and I got to practice them. And I got to grow in my confidence, and I got to grow in what I'm capable of doing. And now I've gotten to come back and apply it again to school. And so I think a BA, the way that it's set up in itself, the structure of a BA is just like laden with opportunities to grow and to learn about yourself. So that's through integrative studies, that's through humanities, that's through practicum opportunities. I feel like I've been given opportunities to stretch and try different personalities on and try different things that I want to be. And so I feel that, yeah, like I've learned in my calling, I've learned because I try so many different subjects and whatever, I get to learn what I like, what I don't like. And I think that's really fascinating because it helps you narrow down what you want to learn about more and what you care about and what you're passionate about, as well as it also helps you broaden your perspective. And so I would say that, to sum it all up, I would say that a BA develops my gifts and callings by giving me the bigger picture, but then helping me learn how to ask the good questions, to learn the more specific things about people and myself. And I think, yeah, that's one of the biggest gifts a BA can give you.
I love that. I feel like you're getting set up very well for life. That is what I'm hearing right now. So I love that. That's really, really cool. Brayden, how about you from your vantage point? Where are you seeing that? How do you feel like the BA does that?
Yeah, I think a Bachelor of Arts degree it's ultimately space. It gives you space to be creative, to be curious. It makes room for dabbling with different things and making, like we said before, making connections, but not only that, getting curious about what you could be passionate about rather than going into a degree and saying, this is what I'm passionate about and this is the job I'm going to get when I'm done. It really allows you to maybe ask the question, is there other things that I'm passionate about that I could be leaning toward? Is there other possibilities in case maybe that doesn't work out, and so maybe the less of a calling and callings in the plural is a better way of thinking about this, in terms of, meeting professors that can encourage you to go different routes and meeting peers that have interests that are other than yours that could be related to yours. And I think the biggest thing that a BA breeds in students is curiosity. We just have, you get so much more curious about asking questions about everything. And I think that's the greatest benefit of it. And I think that's how it can cultivate good gifts and amazing callings.
I love it. That's so good. Cultivating curiosity, a good and healthy thing. Yeah, that's really good. And then Christine, I'll toss it to you, especially as someone who's helping to design this stuff, right? And thinking about this. Why? How do you feel like a BA does that?
So, I mean, I definitely want to echo the things that Natasha and Brayden have already said. And I think I want to address it in relation to a question that many people are asking, right? Kind of connected to the employment question is like, what could you do with a Bachelor of Arts degree? Like what, and it's often sort of this not very positive framing of the question. Like, what could you possibly do with this kind of degree?
Right.
So, and the way I like to reframe it is that that's not that interesting of a question, right? Like what I could do with a degree in history or what I can do with a degree in psychology, rather than what can you do with that degree? So, and that shift in emphasis is really important. So because like a Bachelor of Arts degree gives you a pretty broad base, and sometimes it's framed then as qualifying you for anything that you want, which is not really true or helpful, actually, because it often then means that it's more intimidating and like, how do I still am no closer to figuring out what it is that I'm going to do with my history degree or psychology degree. We like to draw straight lines between an area of study or an area of emphasis and time and then a something at the other end, right? We want to be able to say like, here is the list of jobs for which I am qualified. But that's because the degree itself is only part of the picture. So it's about everything that you're doing and exploring and thinking about during your degree. Like in the way that Brayden was saying, a degree can be space. Like a Bachelor of Arts degree is about creating space. So what are you going to do with it? And a Bachelor of Arts degree gives you the opportunity to really listen for calling and to pay attention to what you're curious about from different perspectives, right? Because we grow up in a particular perspective. And one of the things about university is that it provides you with perspectives that you may not have encountered before, and to try to like put those things together. How does that fit with what I've grown up with? What are the things that I'm going to keep because those are really true for me? And what are some of the things that I'm going to need to reshape based on the things that I'm learning? And it can give you, and I think this is the most important thing, is the opportunity to try stuff. Because that I think is the most important aspect actually of developing gifts and callings. Like as Natasha said, like we sometimes want to do all of our discerning just like inside of our mind. And that's not really that helpful. I mean, discernment needs to happen in community, and it needs to happen based on us actually doing stuff. And research shows we actually suck pretty badly at predicting what we're going to like or what we're going to be good at until we've actually tried it. And so that's the space that a Bachelor of Arts degree can offer us to explore gifts and test out the callings, so that you can actually work at discerning what those next steps are that make sense for you.
So good. So helpful. I'm ready. I'll get my son to get a BA. That's how it feels right now, right? No, this is super helpful. And I think it is. It's so much about, and especially we did another interview yesterday about emerging adulthood and just the reality of that development of identity. And I think knowing the extension of adolescence that we are not talking about right now, but this is so helpful to that actually. And a BA really gives you space to, I think, explore a lot of things and help you discover who you are and what you're wired to do, and does actually make you employable. You know, for all the parents wondering, it makes you employable. So, so good. Well, thank you. I can't thank you all enough. This has been really, really good, really fun. I kind of wish I could come hang out with you now. But I know for anyone listening, they're probably like, how do I find out more? Well, know that Canadian Mennonite University does have an exhibit right here on this platform, so you can go talk to them there. Definitely chat in if you would like to. Also hit us on that session Q&A. Thank you guys so much. So appreciate your time. And we hope to see you soon.